Do you
the
think
blue line blast from the lunar ice ring would still be floating in space when these three galaxies combine?
I think it will have circumvented the entire known galaxy. It's that quick. That's what I think.
Do you think we're gonna go back to the moon and Mars and stuff, but when we get there, just put a little hockey rink out there. I mean, it's freezing in space, right? Yeah. And no refrigeration is necessary. No refrigeration. Think about that. Yeah. I mean, imagine.
Gloves Off, Season 2, Episode 5, Sam Sequenzia, Chad Seward, joined with the queen of the DFW rock scene, Miss, and a friend of ours, and just an all-around awesome person, Miss Lisa Umbarger. Lisa, hello.
Hello, how's it going, y'all?
Yay!
I didn't get a crown or anything for that.
Well, you know what, Sam, we need to work on that. For those of you joining us who don't know, shame on you for not knowing enough about local rock and roll. Lisa was the backbone of the most successful rock and roll band to ever come out of Fort Worth. Fight me if you disagree. How many million records did Rubberneck end up selling? I guess it's still selling.
It's still selling, so I don't know. But I got a thing for the first million up there.
Yes.
Yeah. And after that, I don't know. I think it got up to 2 last I looked, and yeah.
It's nuts.
A lot.
It's one of those things that will continue in perpetuity forever as people discover it. Sam and our kids will eventually discover it and be like, "Hey, Dad, have you heard of this band, the Toadies?" And we'll be like, "Yes, we know." Lisa is also the biggest ambassador for Fort Worth hockey in the history of Earth. She wears a Fort Worth Fire jersey prominently on stage, or she wore on stage. And in the video for Possum Kingdom, the biggest hit song the Toadies had, it's been viewed 30 million times on YouTube. And you can see Lisa rocking that red and black Fort Worth Fire jersey. So I would think it's safe to say, Sam will agree, no one has promoted Fort Worth hockey more than you, by virtue of being the hockey jersey bass player.
I freaking love Fort Worth hockey. Yeah. It took me a while to catch on to the Brahmas. I apologize for that because I was such a Fire fan.
Yeah.
And you and I have had this discussion.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Fort Worth hockey's always been good, and it's well supported, and I love having local hockey.
You know, it goes back, and Sam has heard me tell this to people before, but Fort Worth, I mean, we're in North Richland Hills now. It's still Tarrant County. Pre-Pearl Harbor, Fort Worth had teams. The Fort Worth Rangers date back to the 1939. It's hard to believe, and there's consistently been a team. That's pretty impressive. But what got you into hockey?
I've always loved watching hockey on TV. It's hard to be a fan in Texas, especially back in the day. But my uncle was in the Red Wing system.
Okay.
And he started teaching me more about it. So I never did go when I was a kid because my parents are like, no one watches hockey. And we had the Texans. You know, there were hockey clubs here when I was a kid.
Sure.
And but I never did go. And they played at Will Rogers then. But when my uncle started getting me into it, that's when it started getting big. And then, of course, it helped that we got the Stars.
Yeah.
I remember that was a huge thing. God, I was so excited we got the Stars. And it just kind of created, for lack of a better word, a fire here.
Yes.
So everyone started getting interested in what was going on. But it was really important to me to have a local Fort Worth hockey club jersey for for all of the photos and stuff that we took, because everyone always thought we were from Dallas. And what better way to support Fort Worth than with the Fort Worth Fire Club jersey? So my parents went down to the rink and they had to work really hard to get me a jersey because the Fire had just started coming up.
Yeah.
And they were I guess they worked their magic and money talks and got me a jersey. But it was hard to get a jersey back then.
Yeah.
Because it was so brand new and they weren't selling merch. So I think I got a player jersey, number 7, whoever that was back then. And it doesn't even have a name on it. It's like, I think it's even a practice jersey. It's not even a real jersey. And, but it was important that I get one. I sent my parents out on a mission to find it and spend money and get one so I could have one for the video.
You know, and I got to give you, that's so much respect goes to wanting to throw love to your hometown team and not just taking the easy route of the NHL team down the street, but showing love to Fort Worth. I know there's a big Fort Worth, Dallas kind of rivalry. It's good to see that love. And now you got your Lone Star Brahmas jersey. I've seen you wearing these days.
Yeah, I love the Brahmas jersey, and I wear that one a lot now when we play. Yeah.
It's awesome. And, you know, now you see rappers all the time that are rocking hockey jerseys. It's become kind of a common thing. But as far as I remember, you were one of the first to ever just a hockey jersey in general as a musician.
Yeah, and I think it's because they're so hot to play in.
Yes.
So they would always pick a football jersey or a baseball jersey because they're short sleeve, or at least not as long sleeve. But
yeah, they're not made
they
out
are
of
hot to play in, but I didn't care. I mean, I figure if the players can play in, I can play in it.
And what was, you know, so you were in the Toadies, obviously. That ride, it's something, you know, Sam and I, whenever we played in little bands that played in bars or theaters, whatever, we always, you know, as a musician, you always want to be signed and taken to the golden level of touring. I mean, what was that ride like? If you could go back in time, would you change anything? Was it as awesome as it seems, or more of a
Yeah, it is as awesome as it seems. Yeah, man, there's not a whole lot that I would change about it. It was magical. We were out on the road for 2 years while the record was breaking, and we didn't really even know, except that people started knowing the words to the songs. And because the first year we bought a 15-passenger van and we drove ourselves, didn't have any crew, set everything up, and then the record company flew a PR person in to meet with us before a show. We were opening up for the Chili Peppers, and we were still in a van.
Not a bad gig, by the way.
Not a bad gig at all. And we were setting up our gear at these huge arenas. And the PR person from Interscope came up and said, "You're making the kids sad." We're like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "No one wants to see the rock stars setting up their gear and breaking their gear down when they're done." Because we would play and then take our guitars and start breaking down our amps and stuff. And they're like, "No one wants to see that. This is horrible. It looks like we're not supporting you, and it's making the kids sad. You don't need to set up your gear anymore." So they sent us a tour bus and some crew out. And so that's why we got our first roadies, because we were making the kids sad.
Did you get to choose your bass tech or anything, or was it just, here's Larry,
Not at
he's gonna
first.
take care of you?
Not at first. They sent this blue-haired LA guy out in a leather trench coat. And he didn't last long because we were like, we're going to pick some people. And then the next few tours, we picked some Dallas, Fort Worth people to go out with us because they spoke our language.
Yes, it's mutual acquaintances always work better.
Yep.
So Sam and I are big, you know, obviously there's two things about you in the old videos that stand out. Number one, the hockey jersey. That's number one. Number two, the Rickenbacker bass.
Oh yeah.
Where
never get to that question. I've been waiting patiently.
Okay. Yes. Sam's a Rickenbacker fan, and it's Rickenbacker, right? Not Rickenbacker.
I call it Rickenbacker, but Backer, tomato.
Yes. So where'd you discover that? Where'd you buy it? How did it stick with you?
So there was this band when we were up and coming. So I couldn't afford a bass way back in the day. I got a when we first started, I got like $150 bass at a pawn shop. It was an old PV, and it was a PV foundation. It was heavy as crap. And there was this band that we used to play with, and named Pop Poppins, and their bass player Mark Hitry had a Rickenbacker, and I was like, God dang, I want one of those. As soon as I can save up and get one, I'm gonna buy that bass, and I did, and I never went back. I had other bass companies try and give me sponsorships, and I had Flea give me a Music Man that I tried out for a while, and I was like, it's just not a Rickenbacker. So
now hold on. If Flea gives you a bass and you're like, nah, you're on a new level. You're on a level.
I sold it. I feel kind of shitty about it.
Did you tell whoever you sold it to it was Flea's at least?
I don't remember if I did or not. I had some pictures. We did a live album, and I'm playing that bass on with those live pictures, and I think it sold on that more than that Flea gave it to me.
That's funny.
It was a beautiful bass.
Did he did you guys talk bass with each other, or is it just a weird language? Yeah,
a little bit, but I mean, gosh, the Chili Peppers, it's hard to talk to them because it's so starstruck. Right. That's one of those bands that you're just like, God, we're so happy to be here. The one guy that we did talk to the most was Dave Navarro. He was a guitar player at the time. Yep. And he's actually the one who got us the opening slot because he was a fan. And really? So we talked to him a lot because he talked to us. Probably we wouldn't have sought him out to talk to him because we would just be nervous and stupid trying to talk to him. But he was always nice and talked to us.
Well, you guys, it was the 90s. It was a time when music was coming thankfully away from the glammy, clean, polished, formulaic hair metal era. Although our Zamboni crew here, they have a Motley Crue only policy, but Sam and I we're getting over that. The 90s, so we get into kind of the grunge and just real down and dirty rock and roll. Like you played Lollapalooza Fest, you played some of those festivals that just kids nowadays can't even comprehend. Like what's a bill that you were on that was like the most epic that you still look back and go, God, I can't believe I played with those guys?
Man, that one's easy. We played a bill in Boston, and it's the weirdest bill ever. It had Jewel, Dave Matthews, Oasis, Foo Fighters, Blur, and I can't remember a bunch of other bands that I can't even remember. It was this huge thing, but I remember Jewel. It's so funny. Jewel had a bench. She put a bench out in the front of the stage and sat on a bench and played guitar. And I was like, how do you do that? That would be so hard with all these other bands that were following that were just loud and aggressive. Yeah. I don't know how she did it. And I think we scared Dave Matthews because we were trying to get Oasis and Blur to fight, because they have that whole thing where they don't like each other. So we were trying to get Blur and Oasis to fight. And I changed my Super Sucker shirt to a Blur shirt because we decided we were going to pick sides. We thought Blur might take Oasis. And I think we scared Dave Matthews.
But because Dave doesn't want to fight anybody, even though he's the most deserving of anyway.
Right. They kind of got in between that stuff. But that was fun. That was probably the most epic. Definitely the most epic, I think. And then we had
my question, because I always wanted to know who the most overrated 90s rock and roll musician would be, and why is it Gavin Rossdale?
Oh, how did you know that? That's good. I have so many Bush stories that
you hate him, don't you?
Yeah. They were such a-holes. Can we say a-holes? I left out
you
the
can say asshole. You can say whatever you want. We're in free space here.
So when we first started on the tour with Bush, they hadn't even played a live show. They were basically a boy band that was kind of put together around Gavin. And they hadn't played a live show. And so we blew them off the stage every single night, opening up for them, and which I happily will do again. But they were just not nice people. We tried our best because I think that we're pretty, we're pretty down to earth, I think, for the most part. And we tried every single thing that we could think of to make friends with them because we didn't want to make enemies on the road. And they were just jerks, and their management was jerks. So I remember the story. We're in a van. So we're in a van and it's winter, we're touring, and they would kick us out after we got off a stage. We weren't even allowed to go back into our green room to change. And we'd be all sweaty and thrown out into the road, loading up our gear in sweaty clothes because they were afraid that we would nick their stuff. We were backstage and we're like, dude, we got stuff back here too. If that you can nick our stuff. So we were kicked out when they came into the room. We weren't allowed to be in the back with the green room. So that was like a huge thing. I mean, even when we played bigger places where where our green room wasn't even close to their green room, we weren't allowed backstage, and we weren't allowed in the green room after we played. So it was like a huge deal.
That's a good reason why. Now I understand why. And I always did dislike them, but now I have all of the ammo that I needed.
Right. They were just jerks. And, and that's just one of the jerky things. I think it all came to a giant, it ended with Todd throwing a beer bottle at their manager's head, the tour manager's head. And that's when I think it was like our record company finally understood that it wasn't going to work to put us out together with Bush. It was
We need to keep Toadies and Bush separate.
Right. Put us out with Smash Mouth or someone.
Oh my gosh. Well, so your time with the Toadies, you did. This is a personal question. Feeler. So Rubberneck, it comes out. It's huge. Still selling. The follow-up. It was a whole shit show with the follow-up, right? Like not getting released, getting shelved, not coming out till recently. Like, what was that a whole hubbub about?
That was not playing nice with our record company. The whole thing with Bush happened, and our record company thought we were the ones who were being acting like rock stars, being a-holes. And at that time, our record company wanted us to play one of the late night shows. And so we were set to go on one of the late night shows. And the night that we were set to fly out, they told us that we had to change. We're going to play Possum Kingdom, but they wanted us to edit the song down to like 2 minutes and 50 seconds or something. And that's a 3.5 minute song.
Right.
And so it'd be like playing a whole different song. And they told us the night the night before we were supposed to fly out. So we were like, we can't do that. Maybe we'll play the whole song and they can fade out or something like that. And they said no. So we're like, okay, how about if we play I Come From the Water? It's shorter. And they said, no, we have to play Possum Kingdom. So they got one of the jerk-offs from Deep Blue Something to edit our song down. And they sent us a copy overnight. And, Deep Blue Something, they're fine. They hold their space. But, I mean, Breakfast at Tiffany's is not Possum Kingdom, and we didn't trust those guys to edit our songs, and the edit it sucked. And so they wanted us to play this edit by Deep Blue Something. And we said no, and it pissed them off, and they thought we were biting the hand that feeds us. So we made them mad. So when our second record was recorded, their big FU to us, their middle finger to us was like, we're not going to release it. So, they're like, until you guys learn to be grateful, we're not going to release it. So that's basically the standoff that we had with Interscope. And then at the same time, the record industry was crumbling.
Right.
If you guys remember, it's like all the record labels were being, Interscope became Universal, and everyone was getting dropped. We were one of the few bands on Interscope that didn't get dropped. Reverend Horton Heat got dropped. All these other bands that we were friends with got dropped. And we were one of the few that made it, and they kept throwing that in our face, saying, "You guys, we didn't drop you, so you need to buckle up and do what we want you to do." And we didn't, because either we're punk rock or we're a-holes, whichever story you want to believe.
So there was like a 10-year gap between records, really, between Rubberneck coming out and was it Hell Below, Stars Above was the next one? And that was that your last one with the band, or?
Yeah, that's the last one with the band. And that was like God, we wrote enough material for 3 records before Hell Below, Stars Above came out. Because they kept saying, we kept sending them demos, we kept recording demos and sending them to them. And they were like, nope, go back in. And our A&R guy said, give me 3 songs and I don't care if you fart on the rest. That was a quote. He's like, I want 3 Possum Kingdoms, and I don't care if you fart on the rest. So we wrote that song, Best of 3. That's about our A&R guy telling us to fart on the rest of the songs.
Well, that's funny. You know, back when Hell Below was around, I was playing in really crappy punk and rock bands in Dallas. I remember I had a guitar player who used to say, all right, dude, hypothetically, you got to take Lisa from the Toadies or Darcy from Smashing Pumpkins as your bass player. Go. And I'm like, Lisa all day. She kicks Darcy's ass. And he's like, I don't know, though. Darcy's like, you know, she's like gothic and mysterious. I'm like, no, man, it's Lisa. So we would have this debate. It was really pointless and funny. But
that's good people to be in the discussion with. So I'm good with that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so after Hell Below, you eventually you quit your time with the Toadies, and I know you're a musician, so you can't just not play music. I mean, it's just not in your DNA, but you kind of came out of retirement here a few years back with SolShifter through some of your old buds. Tell us about how that came to be. And by the way, Brahma fans,
yes,
you've seen SolShifter here, who played a couple seasons ago, and they rocked the house, did a great job. How did all that come to be?
Yeah, that's a really cool story, because I wasn't doing anything. I didn't want to touch my bass. In fact, it was in storage. And I got a call from Bryce Avery, who's in Rocket Summer.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, come out, I want to play a Toady song. It's going to be the drummer from, what's Gwen Stefani's? No Doubt. The drummer from No Doubt.
Good.
And me, and we're gonna do this thing for this emo thing. And I was like, all right. So we played this really cool emo version of Possum Kingdom. And I hadn't played in more than 10 years, probably. And I was like, okay, cool. I still can play, and it's still fun. It's cool. And then not even a week later, I get a message from Matt, who was one of the early drummers in the Toadies. And he said, hey, my band, I'm in this band. It's a cover band. We play some Toadies songs. Would you want to get up and play bass? Charles, the original guitar player from the Toadies, has already signed up, and we would love for you to do it. And I was at a conference for work in San Francisco drinking, and I was talking to the bartender. He's like, do it. And I was like, I don't know. And so then they were all giving me shots and drinking, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And I messaged Matt back, and I was like, let's do this. And we went and played one show, and in the middle of their set, we played some Toady songs, and it was so much fun. Charles and I were like, let's start writing again. Why haven't we been doing this? And we were talking about starting a new band. And Urban Gypsy said, come and play again. And we did. And that sealed it. Let's do it. And we were trying to find a drummer and a singer and all this stuff. And we're like, fuck, we already have one. Why don't we talk to Urban Gypsy and see if we can form a new band? And that's basically how it happened. And we asked Matt and Jennifer and Steve if they were wanting to do it. And they were, and that's how it all started. And then we just had to pick a name. And we still play some Toadies songs because we wrote those. But we play our original music too.
That's one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, like, you still get as much joy out of playing, or is it more joy out of playing Backslider and I Come From the Water? Is it just You don't even have to think about it. You just know exactly where your hand needs to go and just having a good time.
Yeah, it's super easy to play Toadies songs now because I have played them so long. And I know that Charles and Matt love playing. Well, the rest of the band, they love playing them. I would rather play SolShifter songs, just our songs. But I know that our fans enjoy hearing those songs. And, Charles and Matt didn't get to enjoy all the
fame.
Yeah, they didn't enjoy all the, when they played a Toady song, hidden Toady song, and people are singing along to Tyler or I Come From the Water, Possum Kingdom. They didn't get to enjoy that, and they are now.
Yeah.
So if we just have to play Toady songs for those guys to get to see that, I'm fine with that.
That's pretty cool. And SolShifter, you guys, are you done in the studio? You still doing the studio? Where are we with the new record coming out?
So what we're doing is for financial reasons, doing 3 songs. It looks like we're doing 3 songs at a time because it costs a lot of money.
Yes.
So we're going in doing 3 songs because we're funding it ourselves. And I'm hoping by the end of the year, we'll have enough songs for a full CD or LP or whatever you're going to call it. So hopefully by end of year, we'll have some more. I'm hoping to get back in the studio this fall when I'm feeling better. It's hard for the band right now because they're having to work their schedule around me and my health issues. So as soon as we get out of that, it's back in the studio and get some stuff going.
And your health issue, we're currently battling. What was the type of cancer again?
I have uterine cancer, and it was diagnosed in February, and it's been just like this crazy spiral that we've been circling around since then. And man, my band is saints. They're saints. They're having to take care of a lot of stuff for me. So I didn't want to cancel all of the shows. In fact, my doctor was telling me that I need to continue doing shows because it helps with the recovery. I have something to look forward to. But, they've been having to pick up a lot of slack for me, and they're amazing people.
Well, if there's a GoFundMe or buying SolShifter album or tracks or anything helps, Sam will put the links in here. We'll send it out to our people because, we want to help you. It really, I remember reading that you were going through cancer and it kicked me in the gut. I was like, God, not Lisa. She's like the coolest.
Same.
So, man, you're with me. I'm pulling for you to fight it. In fact, we were toying as we're to bring everything back to Brahmas hockey. We're in the process of picking our promotional dates and whatnot for the year. And we polled the fans, and a lot of the fans want to see some sort of promotion tied to cancer benefit or something. So the working title, to peel the curtain back for the Brahma fans, working title I have is Puck Cancer Night.
Yes.
And I think Sam will agree with me if we do that. We'll come up with a promo code that SolShifter and you can send out, and then we'll take the money that goes from tickets for that promo code over to you to help out too.
Oh man.
Because we love. Hey, listen, you're like one of us. You wear the Brahmas jersey on stage.
Well, thank you.
We're all about it. Absolutely, right, Sam?
Well, in my short career of hockey, which is my second career, I have learned that hockey is family, and you are our family. And anything that we can do to help Lisa helps the entire family, and that is good. So we're going to do this.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I agree with the family thing. In fact, I'm sporting the NHL.
There you go.
Yay!
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So what I think as we're winding down here, we do have to ask you top 3 favorite bass players of all time.
Oh.
I know.
Kim Deal from the Pixies, because it's another female.
Okay.
Gotta go with Kim Deal. And Lemmy.
Yes.
There was Lemmy from Motorhead. And then gosh.
You gonna go with the little Geddy Lee?
You know what? I'm not a Rush fan. He's good, and he plays a Rickenbacker.
It's the
leopard
vocals
guy.
that do it for you, right? It's the high pitched vocals that are too much, right?
It just feels like a jam band. Sorry about the Grateful Dead thing, but I'm not into jam bands, and they feel kind of jammy. But
Yeah.
Entwistle from Who, gotta go
Okay.
with that. God dang, if you listen to the Who's bass, just, and then John Paul Jones from he would be pissed at me if he heard that I didn't mention him. John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin.
Yes. What was that album he did with Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age and Dave Grohl?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like,
Yes. Yeah, I mean,
he's 70 years old and he's playing hardcore rock and roll. It's awesome.
yeah, and he plays like a 20-string bass now. You can't even hold it. It's insane. He has to sit down to play it because plays it with both fingers like a piano. Have you seen that?
Yes, it's weird.
Insane. It's insanity. I'd rather see him stand up and play the bass, but the fact that he can do that.
Yes.
On the subject of bass again, the one question I had was, is it one Rickenbacker that you've always used and none other will do, or have you been through several of them, or do you have a couple? Or tell me a little bit more about what Lisa's bass do.
When we toured, I think I had 7 basses when we toured, and I would just pick one for the night. It didn't matter. I had a special custom painted. So this is a really cool thing. I had a Rickenbacker painted by this guy who paints hockey helmets, goalie helmets.
Nice.
And so I loved that one. It was sweet. In fact, it was Brahma's colors. I wish I still had it. I need to try and find it. But I had 7 that I pulled from, and it didn't matter. I mostly matched them with my clothes because I'm a girl. And but now I play the blonde Rick because I got rid of a ton of them. So I have 2 Rickenbackers right now, and I have the Fire Glow, which is like a flame burst, and the blonde one. I play the blonde natural Rick most of the time now. It sounds good.
My biggest Toadies regret, and Sam, remember I lived in East Dallas for the longest time, 2 streets over from Sam. When we moved in 2017, I don't know if you remember my old garage, Sam. I had a bunch of old show posters and stuff on the wall, and I had a Toadies Mr. Love single vinyl, little like whatever 10x10 album that Paul Williams, our dear buddy from Last Beat Records, he let me rummage through the closet there at Last Beat. He's like, take whatever you want. I'm like, this Toadies record? He's like, yeah, take it. I left it posted up in my garage wall at that old house, and it's been bugging me. I've been like, man, you think those people still have it? The people that bought the house, but
dang it. I'll see if I can find one. I used to have extras. If I can find one, I'm going to bring you one.
Well, I'll love you I'll love you forever anyway, but that would be extra awesome. And next week's guest, hey, look, this is a power-packed, gloves-off podcast. We've got, of course, the queen of DFW rock and roll, Lisa, with us now. Next week, the guests, the Von Erichs. How about that?
No way.
Wait.
Kevin?
I don't know if Kevin is going to be on. It's going to be Ross and Marshall, but Kevin responded back to me this morning saying, let's do it. So if he's on.
I got a great Kevin Von Erich story.
Love it.
That's how cool he is. I love that man. He's a good-hearted dude.
He is a great-hearted dude. And, the great Cornmo wrote a song about him. And he became friends with Cornmo. They're like buddies now. Like they talk all the time. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Well, Lisa, we definitely thank you for your time. It's been a wonderful chat. Sam will put all the links that need to be put in here, direct people where they need to be, because he's savvy that way. I'm just a caveman. I don't know how to work these things. And, the doors, you can come out to any game you want, anytime. Call me, text me, whatever you got to do. We'll get you in there. Doors always open for you. And future is bright. Thanks a lot, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank y'all so much. Chad, Sam, thank you so much. Appreciate y'all.
You bet. All right, Lisa. We'll see you soon. Keep fighting. And
go Brahmas.
Go Brahmas.
Take care, y'all.
You too.
Bye.
8.
Brilliant!
And take 2. Go.
All right, ready, Sam? All right, 3, 2, 1.
Am I muted? No. Uh-oh.
As freaking musicians, we try to do something with technology.
Well, if you're making fun of me, I missed all of it. So.
Oh no, we just I made a musician joke about, you know, technology and musicians. It's struggle.
It's because you have people that do it for you.
Well, yes, this is true. Now, you experienced that. I don't know if any of the bands Sam and I don't know if I ever had a tech work for me.
And he bought a cigarette. Asked me for light. And I got that to quiet. Space Sauce All Expression. If you're going to play it, what are you doing over there?
That's a really impressive Kenny Rogers. I know.
Well, folks, write in and tell us what you think of Mitchell Bigby's Blue Line Class, Lunar, Ice Rink. And until then, I love you. There you go.
Great job, everyone. Great job.
I love Star Brahmas media team. I am not Chad Stewart. Said I am Graham Burke, and I am the goal. Okay. All right, no, you chill. Hey.
Okay, I got it, guys. You're the best. You're the best. You're the best.
Thank
that
you,
ever
lads.
was. Love you, mean it.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Enjoy your day.
Barbasol contest. Something about shaving your beard. Okay. It'd be funny. I should shave it and then like nick it like 1,000 times. Something like like Def Leppard jeans. All right, here we go. Ready? And yeah.
Okay. And take 2. Go.
It is.
Buddy, I know it all.